Hi, I'm going to try to make this a pretty quick video. I want to talk to you about wind turbine generators real quick and why 99.99% of them are complete bullshit. Now, I did purchase one, but I already knew what I was getting into. I paid $99.99 with free shipping. Now, in no time is this a 400 watt wind turbine. Now, I will explain why, and I will explain the two numbers, the only two numbers you need to look at when you're ordering something like this. Now right here, let me try to enlarge this so you can see it. Right here where it says power rated or rated power 400 watts, that is complete bullshit. Over here, let's get that to where hopefully you can see it. 400, 800 watt, bullshit numbers. Rated panel power 500 to 1000 watt. Do not buy into this, because this is complete bullshit numbers. Here are the only two numbers you need to look at, and this is the largest discharge current. That's 20 amps at 12 volts. This at max will put out 240 watts. Now you're going, well, they're saying it's a 400 watt. No, up here it says 400 watts. It is not a 400 watt. You have to take the amps and the volts, times them, and you get 240 watts. And that is the maximum output this can put out, max, on a perfect day with good winds. So this is the numbers, the only two numbers right here you need to consider: how many volts it is and how many amps it is. Now let's see, I got some numbers here. My pictures are out of order here. Actually, you know what, let's go back to this one. 20 amps at 12 volts is 240 watts. Okay, that is the max output that can put out. That is on the best days. So you're going, okay, what's the average? That depends. Now, let's say the wind's barely blowing at 12 volts, 1 amp. If it's only producing 1 amp, that's only 12 watts. Of course, then it goes up to 24 at 2 amps. 36 watts at 3 amps. 48 watts at 4 amps and 12 volts. 60 watts at 5 amps at 12 volts. And right here, this is what your average solar panel produces, around 5 to 6 amps. Generally it's around 6 at 12 volts, and that is a 100 watt solar panel. This will only produce 72 watts. Now remember, this has to be a decent enough wind to make this produce 6 amps. You're going to rarely see this kind of power out of this type of wind turbine generator. Now let's say you're really lucky and you get 7 amps. That's 84 watts. Not a lot. 8 amps. That's still only 96 watts. 9 amps would be 108 watts. So if this thing's spinning fast enough, literally fast enough to produce 9 amps, you will get 108 watts of power. I have to apologize, I am making ice for my girlfriend. I hope the noise isn't too bad in the background. 10 amps, 120 watts. This is very rarely, if ever, going to produce more than 5 if you're lucky. See, right here, For this to produce 400 watts at 12 volts, it would have to produce 33.333333 amps. That's 12 volts. At 400 watts would make 33.3 amps, not 20 amps. This will produce 240 watts at 12 volts and 20 amps. That is the max amount this can put out. Now let's talk about cost. Well, I already went through this. This, super cheap. But $100 is still $100. Now I did just buy this. So, how much is it going to cost me to buy the wind generator with the pipes, the fittings, the pipe connector, and the flange? The flange was another $14. I found it on eBay, and I'm getting a 2-inch flange for a 2-inch pipe. You have to have thick enough pipe and go high enough, at least 17 to 20 feet if possible, for this to work properly. Each one of these 2-inch metal pipes is $78. That's $80 each. And you have to have at least 2 of them. Then you have to have the flange. I found for $14 for the 2-inch pipe. You can find it, the flange, they're usually around $24 to $35, depends on where you get it. Then you have to have the connector to connect your 2 pipes together. I believe I found that for $8 at my local Lowe's. Then you have to have something at the top, close to the top, around your pipe to connect your guidelines to. And I haven't looked for that yet. What I think I'll do is I'll just drill a hole through the pipe and just go ahead and put some toggle bolts or something like that with the big eyelets, the eyelet bolts, through the pipe in 3 different directions and go down, to use that for my guidelines, my guide wires. Then you have to buy those. You have to buy the wire. So you're looking at 60 foot of guide wire. To hook this up properly, 20 feet up, 17 to 20 feet. Because I do want the pipe at least 2 feet in the ground. And then the guidelines and everything else. You're looking at least $350 on the low end and closer to $400 on the high end. So to hook up a $100 wind turbine that on its best days will produce 240 watts is going to run you nearly $400. Anywhere from $350 to $375, possibly higher if you can't find the right flange, or certain size pipes. If you have to buy if you have to buy a pipe threader because the pipes aren't threaded, whatever. So for $350 to $400, you can hook up one of these. Once again, let's go to the numbers. Bullshit numbers. Do not ever look at these and think that this is what you're getting. You have to take the amps and the volts times the amps and volts. That will give you your total amount of watts that this can produce. 240 watts maximum. See how it says 400 up there? It's bullshit number. 400, bullshit number. These are the only two numbers you need to know. With that, you can times your volts, take your volts, times it by the maximum amount of amps. That will give you your max amount of watts that this can produce on a perfect windy day with the right amount of speed and right amount of wind. And you're going, okay, so why are you buying this? Well, since we are going to be going off grid, relying on our generator, our solar, and now on this. The only reason I bought this is basically to be used as a battery maintainer. I do not see this producing anything more than 3 amps on a decent day. This will be used as a battery maintainer, such as during the time when winter's here, if the wind's blowing at a good speed. I live in Montana. A lot of times when it's snowing, we have some pretty good wind. And as long as this is producing amps and watts and kicking that into the battery, that will help maintain the battery in cold temperatures. Like I said, are these worth it? See, if it only produces 2 amps, 12 volts, that's only 24 watts. Do not rely on these numbers. Do not rely on this number right here, because this is on a perfect condition day with a great amount of wind, a good high wind speed. It will only produce 20 amps. And even then, it's only 240 watts. Now, if you want to buy one of these, that's to go with your solar, and that's what I'm doing. Do not ever look at this right here, the watts that they're listing. You can find some of these listings that say 1200 watts, 1500 watts, 3000 watts, but when you go down and actually look at the amps and the volts on the listing, you'll see something like this. And then people get upset because it will not produce 1000 watts, 1200 watts, 1500 watts, 3000 watts, because the numbers they're looking at, they're not looking at these numbers right here. This is what you need to look at to determine the max amount that wind turbine can kick out. Basically, I bought this as a battery maintainer. On a really good day, will it produce power to help with the batteries, help them charge quicker? Absolutely. But I'm not relying on this to charge my batteries with. This is the max amount that this thing will put out by these numbers. These are the only numbers you need to look at. Everything else is complete and utter Don't look at these numbers. This is irrelevant. It's false. Now, don't even look at these numbers. The product life is only 15 years on this, but you know what? And here's the rated wind speed for this. 12 meters a second. That's a pretty high wind speed. And the rated speed, 800 rotations a minute. According to them, 800 rotations a minute will produce this. Right here, tower height. Don't go out by meters. If it only shows meters, you can add take and find a meter to feet calculator online. That's 15 to 33 feet up. Now, for me to have or buy 33 feet of pipe, even 30 feet, I am looking at real close to $300 just for the pipe, not the connections to connect the pipe together, and not the guidelines to help hold the pipe steady or anything else. That's just the pipe. The pipe, the connections, the guidelines, and everything I need to secure this at 20 feet, 17 to 20 feet, will cost way more than the price of the wind turbine. Remember, the only thing you need to look at is here. And this is on the best day at the rated wind speed, which is 800 rotations a minute. 240 watts max. Like I said, I did buy this to be a battery maintainer. I am not going to rely on this to charge my batteries. This is basically to maintain my batteries. When it gets cold, this can help my lead acid batteries keep from freezing, as long as it is putting power into the batteries and the batteries are taking a charge from this. Don't fall for the hype. When you look at a windmill, wind generator, the only numbers you need to see is right here. And you can figure out the max amount of how many watts it'll put out. If it said 10 amps at 12 volts, that would be 120 watts. And it could say 5,000 watts up here, and that would be a lie. These numbers are the only ones you need to look at when you're thinking about a purchase like this. Don't buy one of these thinking it will produce 400 watts. It will not. Alright, that's it. I am fixing to go. Let's get Midnight in here. He's over here snoozing. And you're probably going to yourself, if these aren't that good, why are you buying it? I am buying this to help maintain my batteries in winter. I do not expect this to actually do much good other than that. Alright, that's it. I'm fixing to go. Everyone have a good day. Bye.